It was dusk, and all was quiet. Yet this quiet was of a different kind. The quiet that soon followed death, the quiet of darkness, the quiet of anxiety, the quiet that made you feel like your own body was a prison. For a caravan moved through the Drakewald forest. Tradesmen of the Empire, looking to go from province to province in search of somewhere to sell their wares. For this particular trail in the past 2 weeks has been subject to frequent beastmen raids. Normally, the beastmen, foul servants of chaos, malignant incarnations, half human, half beast. Normally, they stay inside the deep heart of the Drakewald. Ever since the Elector Prince of Altdorf and current Emperor of the Empire of Man, Karl Franz, charged Boris Todbringer, Elector Count of Middenland, with finding them and pacifying them. However, after years of inactivity, they now proceed to launch a raid so close to Empire territory. For they are evil creatures. They crave only violence, death, and they only prey upon the weak and the helpless. Spineless creatures who serve only evil. They have one purpose and one purpose alone: to bring chaos. However, this night, they find that something other than tradesmen is awaiting them. Ugh, damn to this cloak. It's so bushy and big. It's so bloody annoying. Come on, Heinrich. Be quiet. You and I both have to do this. Yeah, we do. But I also have to lug around a spear wrapped in cloth. You can just put your sword in your sheath. There, done. Stop moving around so much. Come on. Where are these damned things anyhow? I don't know. But just wait. Shh. Quiet, lads. And make sure to keep your armor hidden. We don't want them seeing the silver reflecting.
Captain Dollard ordered Privates William and Heinrich.
As the foot captain of the Empire and his company were charged by none other than the Prince of Altdorf himself to find this raiding party and destroy them. Thus, they commandeered a wagon of goods and disguises from local traders, and proceeded to set an ambush with the beastmen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Heinrich and William responded to the captain. I just hope that Gunther's aim is true. If not, we're all gonna die. Don't you worry about Gunther, old friend. He's a crack shot with a bow I've ever seen. One of the best huntsmen we have. When he's sober, that is. Yeah, but come on. Their conversation was soon stopped, as the captain motioned for the convoy to halt. There was movement up ahead, a rustling of some kind. The captain then spoke quietly to his men. In formation, lads, just like we planned. With that, the men slowly mulled about, not in the usual fast and orderly fashion, but in an attempt to fool the beastmen. The soldiers of the Empire then proceeded to move about inconspicuously, as if they were wandered and confused. However, they soon ended up in near perfect battle formation, the spearmen taking the front ranks, with the swordsmen behind them. Captain Tala then looked forward as to what it was. He then proceeded to see what appeared to be a human walking towards them. He then ordered his men to hold where they were as he proceeded to walk forward. He then proceeded to greet the traveller. Hail, traveller! My name is Talard. I am a simple merchant from Altdorf, seeking passage to get through to Middenland. You gave us quite the fright. We thought you were one of those beastmen. But tell me, where you come from? By your garb, you look to be a trader as well. While Talard put a smile upon his face, he stayed close to his men and readied his pistol in his offhand.
We trader as well.
Oh, I can see that. Tell me, where is your company then?
Company?
Yes, the men, and your wares and goods and such. As Talod said this, he began scanning the tree line and soon saw movement. He knew what was happening. However, this day the beastmen would be surprised on their own. For random citizens, the beastmen could hide from. But these were trained soldiers of the Empire, the state troopers, professional standing soldiers drilled to near perfection, the best that the human world could offer. The stranger then proceeded to go closer and closer, and Talod could make out that it was in fact a corpse, being puppeted by an Ungor. So tell me, friend, have you seen any beastmen?
Beastmen? The beastmen will destroy you, foul man-thing!
Upon saying this, the corpse was thrown to the ground, and the Ungor then proceeded to take out his knife and charge towards the captain. At this, the captain drew his pistol in his offhand and shot him dead in his head. He then proceeded to remove his cape, draw his saber, and proceeded to yell, "Men of the Empire! Form your ranks!" Upon saying this, a great shout was heard, as the men of the Empire proceeded to remove their cloaks and proceed to unravel their weapons. The spearmen formed into a tight phalanx, with the swordsmen in a loose formation behind them, around the cart. The beastmen then proceeded to emerge, yelling and raving, then proceeded to charge down towards the convoy. The men of the Empire, however, did not move. They simply stood there, in lockstep, ready and waiting to receive the charge. So it would seem. However, right before the beastmen hit their lines, a volley of arrows were unleashed, and proceeded to cut the first few ranks of the beastmen down. From behind them emerged huntsmen of the Empire, elite irregular troops, skirmishers. Using the high-powered bows, they proceeded to fire into the beastmen ranks. As they said this, the spearmen advanced and skewered what was ever left over, using their elite disciplined formations. The swordsmen behind them ready and waiting for the captain's orders. At this, the beastmen then proceeded to charge. However, volley after volley of arrow fire combined with the disciplined ranks of the spearmen and proceeded to nullify their charge. There, you damn beast dog! Heinrich was heard saying as he blocked the blade of an Ungor and proceeded to drive his spear into his neck before removing it and bashing the corpse aside with his shield. Then a horn was heard. The Ungors proceeded to move all their attention towards the flanks and stopped assaulting the front of the Empire's lines. Captain Talod then saw centaurs approaching, axes and spears in hand. They proceeded to charge towards the Empire spearmen with breakneck pace. Captain Talod then ordered his men, "Spearmen! Form your ranks! 3 layers deep! Ready!" Upon saying this, the front lines then reformed, with the front rank of spearmen kneeling, second rank placing their shields and spears on top of them, and the third rank doing the same, forming an impenetrable wall of steel and spear points. The centaurs then proceeded to charge forward towards them. However, they were soon stopped by the spear's points, unable to breach through, their axes and spears harmlessly clanging off the Empire spearmen's steel shields and heavy armor. At this point, Captain Tarl then launched a flare up into the air. At that, a sound of rushing hooves was heard, as from behind the beastmen's lines, Empire cavalry was seen charging down towards them. You see to slam into the centaur line, lances couched as they skewered them and utterly destroyed, while the centaurs were utterly outclassed and outmatched by the medium cavalry of the Empire. Upon seeing this, the Ungors and Gorhors proceeded to break ranks and start to falter as a few of them started to fall back. Upon seeing this, Captain Tarl ordered, "Swordsmen, forward! Loose order formation! Cut them down!" Upon this, the Empire spearmen then proceeded to fall back. The swordsmen then leapt forward, clad in heavy half-plate, armed with swords and broad shields. They then proceeded to cut down on all of the Ungors before them, with the huntsmen of the Empire moving forward, firing their bows, some of them even getting close enough to use their arming swords. William, then came forward, blocking an Ungor spear with his shield, before removing his arm and skewering his center. He then used his pauldron to lock the saber of another Ungor herd, as he took his shield and smashed it into the side of his head, killing the creature outright. The centaurs were soon surrounded by Empire spearmen from the front and the flanks, with the Empire cavalry destroying them from the rear. They were slaughtered utterly. The Ungor herd were faltering. Those who tried to flee into the woods were shot down by Empire huntsmen, but those who stayed to the front were cut down by the disciplined sabers and stout shields of the Empire spearmen and swordsmen. Captain Tallard was directing the assault from the front. He then saw the leader of the raiding party, a massive Bestigor armed with a two-handed axe. He then proceeded to charge towards Captain Tallard and his position. However, 3 ranks of disciplined Empire spearmen awaited him. Using his inhuman capabilities, he jumped over the spears and proceeded to bring his axe down upon the captain. The captain used his saber to parry the blade, glancing it aside and leaning down to the earth. He then drew his pistol and pointed it towards the Gore hood. He proceeded to soldier charge the captain, his pistol discharged harmlessly. With his massive fist did he attempt then to strike the captain. However, Captain Tallard quickly brought up his saber and impaled the forearm of the beast, wrenching it backwards, splitting the forearm in 2. The beast howled at the pain in an attempt to lift his axe and swing at the captain. The captain then rolled and dodged out of the way. He then proceeded to lunge forward, impaling his saber into the gap of the crude plate armor that the Bestigor was wearing. He then proceeded to slide underneath the Bestigor's legs, drawing his dagger. He then proceeded to implant it into the back of the Bestigor's neck. The Bestigor wildly started swinging his axe, but the captain had dodged away and proceeded to walk back. He then proceeded to pick his second pistol from his holster and fired it into the Bestigor, putting a clean hole through the head of the war leader. The Bestigor then fell forward, lifeless, murky black blood flowing from his cranium. At this, the beast host was broken and proceeded to flee away. The centaurs had been cut down, but the Ungor herd tried in vain. The leader of the cavalry then walked up to Captain Tallard. Much like the other cavalry before him, he was clad in half-plate, wielding a saber and pistols. "Fine show, Captain Tallard, fine show indeed. I rate that will earn you a fair deal. I'll make sure to see to it." "Thank you, Sir Norrin. While my job may be done, yours is still there. Those Ungor herd think they can escape the Empire's justice. Think! My dear fellow, these things can't think for anything, nor will they escape the justice of the Empire. My pistoliers and I will run them down. That much you can be assured. I'll leave it in your capable hands, sir. Hyah!" At that, Sir Norrin and his pistoliers then proceeded to charge into the forest, shooting and cutting down the retreating beastmen. That went well, didn't it? Heinrich said to William as he proceeded to remove his spear from the back of an Ungor. "I told you, didn't I?" William said as he smiled towards Heinrich. Well, look at you," Gunther said as he approached them. "All covered in mud and the blood. Well, you state boys really do like that, don't you? A lot better than you bloody huntsmen, sitting on top and far in the shadows shooting your own clean little bows, while we have to dodge these bastards' teeth and swords." Heinrich retorted to Gunther. "Well, if it wasn't for our bows, you boys would have had to hit a full-on beastman charge. They may be ugly, smell like shite, but they can hit pretty hard," Gunther said as he kicked the corpse of an Ungor. "How about this? Men of the Empire working together can slaughter any beastman threat." William stepped in between them. "I can live with that." "Aye, as can I," Heinrich and Gunther replied. They were soon disrupted when Captain Tallard ordering, "Spearmen! Form a perimeter! Huntsmen! Find one of those trailing bastards to see if they can lead you back to their hideout." "William! Yes, sir!" William responded.
Take a group of swordsmen to provide support for the huntsmen. Find the stolen trade goods, and hopefully the corpses of the traders.
"Yes, sir! As you will command." At that, William and Gunther then proceeded to move out with some swordsmen and huntsmen in an attempt to find the lair of the beastmen. Heinrich stood tall, scanning the forest, as some other men proceeded to clear the corpses and tend to the wounded. Upon this night, The men of the Empire had triumphed, for many a corpse of beastmen lay before them, and not with this hunting party ever find blood of the Empire again. Yet this was concerning, for what had roused the beastmen, after all these years of inactivity, to raid so close to the Empire's lands? What had the Dark Gods in store for the brave men of the Empire? But one thing was for certain: regardless of what evil may try and assault the nations of man, faith, steel, and gunpowder would meet them, and by faith, steel, and gunpowder would the enemies of man be destroyed.